The Zodiac Killer, a name that sends shivers down the spines of even the most hardened detectives. This elusive figure, cloaked in mystery and fear, has become one of the most infamous serial killers in American history. Operating in Northern California during the late 1960s and early 70s, the Zodiac Killer's reign of terror was marked by a series of brutal murders. Each crime scene more chilling than the last, leaving detectives baffled and communities in fear. The Zodiac Killer was not just a murderer, he was a master of psychological warfare. His cryptic messages sent to newspapers taunted law enforcement and the public alike. These messages, filled with ciphers and strange symbols, added an extra layer of terror to his already horrifying crimes. This is the story of a cunning killer, his cryptic messages, and the enduring mystery that continues to captivate and confound. The Zodiac's letters often contained clues to his identity, but despite the best efforts of cryptographers and amateur sleuths, many of these ciphers remain unsolved to this day. The Zodiac case is not just another unsolved crime, it is a chilling reminder that some mysteries linger, their answers lost in the shadows. The fear he instilled in the public psyche has never truly dissipated, and his legend has only grown over the decades. The killer, shrouded in a costume of his own design, remains unidentified to this day. His eerie disguise, often described as a hooded figure with a crosshair symbol, became an icon of terror. This costume was not just a means of hiding his identity, but a psychological tool to instill fear and assert control over his victims. His reign of terror, punctuated by cryptic messages and taunting phone calls, left an indelible mark on the American psyche. The Zodiac's phone calls, often made to the police or newspapers, were chilling in their calmness and precision, further cementing his image as a cold and calculating killer. This is a journey into the heart of darkness, a close examination of the clues, the victims, and the enduring mystery of the Zodiac Killer. Each piece of evidence, each letter, and each cipher brings us closer to understanding the mind of this enigmatic killer, yet the full picture remains frustratingly out of reach. It is a tale of terror and intrigue, one that continues to fascinate and horrify all who dare to enter its labyrinthine depths. The Zodiac Killer's story is a dark chapter in American history, a puzzle that has yet to be solved, and a reminder of the darkness that can lurk within the human soul. As we delve deeper into this enigma, we are reminded of the fragility of our sense of security and the enduring power of fear. December 20th, 1968. It was a cold, quiet night in the small town of Benicia, California. The kind of night where the stillness in the air makes every sound seem amplified, every shadow more menacing. A young couple, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, sat in their car on a lover's lane in Benicia, California. They were high school sweethearts, enjoying a peaceful evening together, unaware of the lurking danger. Their evening was shattered by the deafening blast of a .22 caliber pistol. David was killed instantly, his dreams and future stolen in a heartbeat. Betty Lou, fleeing in terror, was shot 5 times in the back. Her desperate attempt to escape was futile, and her life was brutally cut short. The serene lover's lane was now a scene of horror and tragedy. 5 months later, the killer struck again. The community, still reeling from the first attack, was plunged back into fear and uncertainty. Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau were parked in Vallejo, California, when a man approached their car. They were enjoying a quiet moment together, completely unaware of the impending danger. He fired multiple shots, killing Darlene and seriously wounding Michael. The attack was swift and brutal, leaving no time for the victims to react or defend themselves. This time, however, the killer didn't disappear into the night. He had a message to deliver, a chilling proclamation of his deeds. He made a chilling phone call to the Vallejo Police Department, claiming responsibility not only for this attack, but also for the murders of Faraday and Jensen. His voice was calm, almost detached, as he described his heinous acts. The Zodiac Killer had announced himself to the world. He sent cryptic messages to the press, taunting the police and the public with his twisted sense of superiority. His motive, a twisted game of cat and mouse with law enforcement, became terrifyingly clear. He reveled in the attention, the fear, and the chaos he created. He craved notoriety, reveling in the fear that gripped the Bay Area. The Zodiac Killer's reign of terror had begun, and the community would never be the same again. His cryptic letters, filled with ciphers and threats, kept everyone on edge, wondering when and where he would strike next. The police were under immense pressure, working tirelessly to decode his messages and prevent further bloodshed. The Zodiac Killer had become a dark legend, a symbol of fear and mystery that would haunt the Bay Area for years to come. In August 1969, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald each received a chilling letter. These letters were not just any ordinary correspondence, they were the beginning of a terrifying saga that would haunt the Bay Area for years to come. Typed on a typewriter, these letters contained a chilling message. "This is the Zodiac speaking." The words were misaligned, adding to the eerie nature of the communication. These letters, along with two others sent later, became the hallmark of the Zodiac case. The Zodiac Killer, as he came to be known, was not just a murderer. He was a master of psychological warfare. Each letter included a portion of a complex cipher, a puzzle the killer claimed held the key to his identity. These ciphers were not just random symbols, they were meticulously crafted to challenge the brightest minds. The ciphers, filled with strange symbols and codes, sent a collective shiver down the spines of investigators and the public alike. Cryptographers and amateur sleuths alike spent countless hours trying to decode the messages, hoping to unmask the killer. The letters weren't just about the ciphers, however. They were filled with chilling details of the murders, taunts to the police, and threats of future violence. The Zodiac seemed to know that his words would be printed in the newspapers, spreading fear far and wide. The Zodiac seemed to revel in the fear he was generating, feeding off the panic that gripped the Bay Area. His letters were a twisted form of communication, a way to exert control over the narrative and keep the public in a state of perpetual dread. Headlines screamed about the latest developments, each new letter adding to the growing legend of the Zodiac. The public was both horrified and fascinated, unable to look away from the unfolding drama. Cryptographers worked tirelessly, often late into the night, surrounded by papers and ciphers, trying to crack the code that would reveal the Zodiac's identity. Despite their best efforts, the ciphers remained largely unsolved, adding to the mystery and fear. Police officers were equally baffled, their discussions filled with frustration and determination. The Zodiac's ability to evade capture while taunting them through his letters was a constant source of anguish. The fear that gripped the Bay Area was palpable. People changed their routines, avoided dark alleyways, and looked over their shoulders, wondering if the Zodiac was lurking nearby. Investigators set up bulletin boards filled with maps, photos, and notes, trying to piece together the puzzle. Each new clue was a potential breakthrough, but also a reminder of how elusive the Zodiac remained. The mystery of the Zodiac Killer remains one of the most enduring in criminal history. His letters, filled with ciphers and chilling messages, continue to captivate and terrify, a dark reminder of a time when fear was just a letter away. As the investigation continued, the Zodiac's motives remained frustratingly elusive. Were these killings simply about power and control, the twisted desires of a sadistic mind? Or was there a deeper, more complex motivation driving his actions? The Zodiac's letters offered glimpses into his psyche, but ultimately raised more questions than answers. He claimed to be collecting slaves for the afterlife, a bizarre and unsettling detail that only deepened the mystery. His letters were filled with misspellings and grammatical errors, suggesting a deliberate attempt to mislead investigators or, perhaps, a genuine reflection of his mental state. The Zodiac's taunts became bolder, his methods more brazen. He mailed pieces of blood-soaked clothing to the newspapers, grisly trophies from his victims. He even claimed to have changed his appearance, further complicating efforts to identify him.